You're welcome to Issues About Life and Religion.
Hi, I'm Sarah. Hit that subscribe button.
That was why I said stress is an emotional and physiological response to a challenging event or to a threatening event that an individual responds to it.
Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. I am your host, Kwesi Ado Sampo. You're welcome to Issues About Life and Religion.
Hi, I'm Bryson. Hey, I'm Noah. Please subscribe now. Please subscribe now.
Hello there. You're welcome to our weekly podcast series, Issues About Life and Religion, a weekly podcast that seeks to discuss the impact of our belief system on our way of life as we seek to make meaning of our existence in our environment. As Socrates rightly said, great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. This is KAS channel. I'm your host, Kwesi Ado Sampo. Stress is increasingly becoming a part of the life of modern person. The effect of COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine on the economies of nations have brought so much stress to many people. Most average people are struggling with high inflation and how to make ends meet. What does a Christian do about his or her mental health? Today, our discussion is about mental health, or specifically, stress, the stress that we go through. That's what we're focusing on. How can we deal with stress? To help us discuss this is my good old friend. He's been here with us before. He is God's choice man of God, pastor, a lecturer in counseling psychology at the Department of Theology in Central University, Accra, Ghana, where I also lecture. So help me welcome Reverend Dr. Aaron Adjei. You are so very welcome, and I'm happy that you found the time to be with us once again.
Thank you very much, Doc. And I'm also happy to be with you.
So, Doc, what is stress?
Good. When you talk of stress, stress happens to be a physiological and an emotional response to a challenging event that has a significant effect on the individual's responses to issues. Now, when you talk of stress, varying people evaluate stress differently, because more of the time, it's not the event that makes it to be stressful, but it's the evaluation that an individual gives to that event that makes it to be either stressful negatively or positively. It is the reason stress could be either positive or negative. And these ones are based on the individual's evaluation. So an event may happen. However, different people may evaluate the event differently. Depending on the evaluation, the person is more likely to react emotionally, and then it will manifest physically as well. That is why I said stress is an emotional and physiological response to a challenging event or to a threatening event that an individual responds to it.
All right. So, stress is a challenging event, or rather, not the event itself, but the response, the evaluation and response of the person in the stressor. That so it's the response of the person more than the event itself. But in your response, in we trying to understand what stress is, you said something that is very peculiar, very unique. You said that stress can be positive and stress can be negative.
Sure.
I would like to understand positive stress.
Great. When you talk of positive stress, then it adds value to the individual. Let's imagine a mature student who closes from his or her official duties and wants to add knowledge to himself or herself. Now closes from his official duties or her official duties, will now drive or pick a commercial vehicle to an institution to study. Now it becomes stressful, and then the person will have to drive and then get his way back to his home and then wake up early morning to return to official duties. He will do this for 4 years, 3 years, or 2 years. Though stressful, but then value at the end of the day, value would have been added to whoever he is or he was, or she is or she was. Value would have been added. That makes it to be very positive. However, the negative ones are those ones that take us down the line, affects the individual, that the individual is unable to act normally in any other situation. That is the negative one. But the positive ones are those ones that at the end of the day, they add value to the person.
I know that growth comes with struggle. And so stress, positive stress can enhance growth.
Sure.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So what are some of the normal events that are prone to give stress to people?
In fact, if we want to look at some causative factors of stress, we have to look at some unmet needs of individuals. Now, what we should know is that when you talk of stress and the causes of stress, these are known as stressors or triggering agents of stress. They are known as stressors. Unmet needs could be one of them. When the individual tries as much as he or she can, yet his or her needs are not being met, leads that level of stress. Not only that, you could have when procrastination could also lead to stress, whereby the individual is supposed to have done something within a particular period of time. However, delays and hopes that it will be done in the next 10 years. That it gets to that point in the next 10 years, that he may want to leave 10 years in 1 year, which becomes very stressful. Overcrowding could also lead to stress, where there are too many people gathered at the same place at the same time could lead to stress. Noise making, excessive noise making. I mean, noise making could lead to stress. And this one, those of us as Christians are also part of it. In the church, where you have amplifiers, high levels of amplifiers, blaring and making noise, and sometimes during all-night services, other persons are sleeping. Unfortunately, in the period of practicing our religiosity, some will open the volume so high, and it causes stress to some people. Now, so noise making also is a causative factor of stress.
Didn't the Bible say we should make a joyful noise to the Lord?
But there is a limit to that. Your joyful noise should not cause stress to other person. We should stay within your confines of your auditorium and not make noise to other persons who might have gone on shifts, returned from official duties, may want to rest for a while, and then return to your official duties.
I said that tongue in cheek because I know, it's good to make joyful noise to the Lord, and then you should make sure that your auditorium, your noise-making auditorium, joyful noise-making auditorium is soundproof.
Yes.
So that you enjoy your noise, and the next door neighbor can also enjoy his or her sleep because he may have finished making a joyful noise and is now sleeping.
Yes.
And, so I just did that.
Yes. I mean, Doc, in addition to that, You could also have childbearing and child upbringing, causing.
Before you go there, we are in a period of World Cup soccer,
Yes.
football World Cup in Qatar.
Yes.
And you talked about some of the stresses being overcrowding
Yes.
and noise making. And then I believe that a lot of people in Qatar, in those stadiums, they are going through a lot of stress. So this combination of the noise and the overcrowding.
However, the euphoria there is so high. They are going through high levels of euphoria, so those ones are not being considered. But then, when in a quiet place, you have too many people crowded, listening to one person, either a sermon or any other speech, and they are all gathered. The room becomes stuffy, very unfriendly at that point, and that is where stress comes in. Now, for those making the noise, they may not be going through that stress, but those experiencing the noise that are not ready to listen to that noise are those that experience that level of stress.
Right.
Yes.
So you have given us a lot of information about stresses, the causes of stress, or that trigger stress, and you spoke about. You started with unmet needs,
Yes.
and then noise, and then procrastination, overcrowdedness. And you were going to childbirth when I stopped you.
Yes.
So you can continue.
Great. Childbearing and child upbringing, I want to put the two together. Now, childbearing is very stressful, especially when the women go into labor and they go to the labor ward. Those that have their husbands following them, if you have been to any of our labor wards, either Mamprobi or Kolebu, you observe that you hear the sound of a baby, a new baby, crying. You may think it is your wife that has been delivered of a baby. You ask the midwife, oh, no, it's not your wife. And she's in labor, she's in pain. And then you see some of the men walking, praying, moving up and down for hours, an hour, 2, 3, and sometimes you don't know what to say again. It becomes very stressful to them. Even for the women that are experiencing child labor for the first time, they go through a lot of stress. Child upbringing becomes very stressful. Sometimes the way you may want the child to go, that is not the way the child may want to go. And as an adult, you might have experienced where the child may want to go, because you can see that there is a pit ahead of our child. But then that child will still want to go, because in that level of youthful exuberance may want to go through it. But then you know, as a father or as a mother, that what this child is going, there's going to be a disaster, or there is a disaster ahead of him or her. These are some of the things parents may go through as they try to bring up children. And some mothers and fathers have died out of some of these issues as it has increased their systolic and diastolic pressures. Some parents have died out of high levels of BP because they may want the child to be at a certain place, move in a certain way, but that child will not listen. So sometimes I keep telling people that probably some of their children are the major constitutive factors of their parents having high levels of blood pressure. Additionally, Doc, some economic factors also, economic labor, where you are suffering but you are smiling based on the type of job you do. Like salesperson. A salesman, despite all his challenges he's having, will still have to smile to clients when they show up. Just like an air hostess who has no alternative but to smile at clients or passengers. Just like a teacher who gets up in the morning, going through a whole lot of stress, but will still have to get up, get to the classroom, and then wear a smile on his face. That is emotional labor. Go through emotional labor. Even relationship, people that have challenges of relationship, go through a whole lot of stress because he or she might have experienced 1, 2, 3 disappointments, and disappointment keep coming. He might have evaluated himself or herself and realize that there is nothing absolutely wrong with me. So why this situation? It becomes very stressful to them. Relationship with in-laws. Relationship with in-laws. Unfortunately, more of a time in our part of the world, more of a in-laws, that is the husband's mothers, more of a time are witches. Not all the time, but in our part of the world, we always see the husband's mothers as being witches. And when people have issues with their in-laws, it becomes very stressful. The moment they observe the in-law coming in, then they begin to have jitters. Their thought processes change. Their demeanor changes. Everything about them changes because they know they have evaluated themselves that this woman is only coming to cause trouble for me. And these ones leads to childlessness. When there is childlessness in the marriage, it becomes very stressful. We live in a society where the moment people get married, they are expected in the next 6 months, in a year or two, they should have a child or two. At most 5 years, people are expectant that you have at least 2 or 3 children. And if these ones are not coming up, then there is societal pressure, which becomes very stressful in the marriage from both families, in-laws, churches, church leaders, people pouring and telling you, when are we going to see our grandchild? When are we going to have our grandchild? These are some of the things that bring about stress upon humanity, upon persons living with it. However, like I said earlier, based on the person's evaluation, then it will be either negative or positive. Not only that, Doc, you could have normative and non-normative events. Non-normative events such as a man-made or human-made or nature-precipitated disasters like flood, fire outbreak without any physical engagement from any other person. It could be very stressful. And then you could have normative events such as illness, terminal illness, such as bereavement. Marriage could lead to stress because you go into marriage, the man that was very powerful in the church, or the woman that was very powerful in the church, you're going into marriage and then you have a shock in the marriage because now reality sets in and it becomes very stressful staying in.
The man was acting all along.
All along he's been acting. Now he's come to his real self, acting out, now showing you who he or she is.
What about events like Christmas? We're getting ready to celebrate Christmas.
Yes.
And people, because of the economy, especially in our country, people don't have money, and they feel that throughout our life, in our tradition, that in Christmas we do the big meal, we give gifts, we buy clothes for our children, we do this and this and that, and people are get closer and closer to Christmas, and they don't know where money is going to come from. So Christmas can be stressful too, right?
It can be stressful, especially when you want to have a large celebration, and then we are used to giving out gifts during Christmas or exchanging gifts. Unfortunately, around this time, due to the economic situation. But what I may like to say is that when it's time for us to live lean, we should live a lean budget. We should have a lean budget. When it's time for us to have extravagancy of expression, we can do that. So in this period, many people are stressed out. This when I was watching television, part of Cantamanto is burnt. And one of the women was interviewed and she said, we are approaching Christmas and I needed to make some money to buy a few items for my children. It's good to buy new items for our children during Christmas. However, if what would take us to buy, if there is not enough money to do so, we have always done it for them. We can explain to them that this period is not good for us to do so. In the coming days or months, when things improve, I shall get you new items. So Christmas itself, right now at this moment, has become stressful, and it's going to be stressful for many people who may want to live the usual Christmas.
Well, Dr. Adjei, Dr. Adjei is a pastor and is a counselor and is a lecturer in counseling psychology, and he is helping us with some of the stresses, events and things that can trigger stress. I know there are more, but let me ask you, since people are different and people's perspective are also different, as you said, rightly said from the beginning, that people's evaluation, it is not really the event, but people's evaluation is what really causes the stress.
Yes.
That means that what will stress somebody might not stress another person.
Sure.
And what will be a negative stress to somebody might be a positive stress to another person.
Yes.
What is the making of the person who rightly evaluate and therefore doesn't get too much stressed over events?
Now,
how is the upbringing and the thinking process of such a person is like?
Now, then at this point, you may need to look at the types of personalities we have, the basic types, the type A and the type B. Now, even in doing that, before we do that, then we need to look at the formation of personality, how personality is formed. And when we use the inherent psychic plus environmental conditions, where people inherit traits from both parents or either more from either of them, of the two, those ones are stabilized. However, the environment comes to enhance it either positively or negatively, especially during the ages of fantasy of 0 to 5. It is a reason when you have children around, we should be careful things we do, because all actions and whatever we do and whatever we say are stuck in the unconscious mind of our child. Because every human is born with a blind mind. Now, things begin to set in, and they settle in especially between the ages of 0 to 5. That is using the Freudian theory. Now, when it happens that way, depending on how people in the immediate environment evaluated stressful events, will now begin to have an effect on that child that is growing up. That as that child grows up during the ages of reality, begins to exhibit those things. Now, this is the reason for which you have type A and type B personality. The type A personality are people that are competitive in nature. They even create competition where there is no competition. They are hyperactive. It's not about quality. They can have quantity of jobs to be done. They hardly sleep at night. They are pacey in the mind because they may have 3 or 4 jobs going for them that they may have to do. More of the time, they need more blood to get into the endocrine system. So at most 40 plus or minus 5, they always have issues with cardiovascular challenges. But they are achievers in nature. They can achieve things. The type B personality, they are not that competitive as the type A. Now, they celebrate achievement. They engage in competition for fun, not to win. For them, whatever situation that happens, they have a positive response to it. They observe life as a plateau, for which when you are down today, you could be up tomorrow. You can see them more of a time around us. They are always around us. They've been with us all through. You see, under the tree at one place or another, or at the blue kiosk, you meet them there, they take their drink, they go their way. They are not excessively bothered about what I should wear to church today. I don't have this to wear to this program. I don't have this to wear in this to go to this ceremony. Now, for these people, their evaluation about life is not competitive. However, for the type A, they are more prone to stressful situations because of their competitive nature in life, for which they may need to have 3-4 things going for them. But at type B, they are not as competitive as this one. They celebrate achievement. They may not achieve more, but they celebrate achievement. So their evaluation is based on their personality. It is a reason for which when people are growing up, apart from the encouraged psychic, we need to be careful information that is sent into their unconscious mind. How we act, especially in the immediate environment, forms the personality of this person that as they grow up, they begin to exhibit them.
And these things can be inherited. So we talk about nature and nurture.
Yes.
What they inherit from their parents and the environment they grow in.
Yes.
That is what makes their personality.
Sure.
Okay, so what does the Christian values, where do we find them? Let's say type A person, aggressive and overachiever, and he's also a Christian. Or type B person who is laid back, not too much worry, tries his best but does not worry too much. These two groups, how does Christian values, when I talk of Christian values, we know that the Lord Jesus Christ is the Prince of Peace. And when the Lord Jesus Christ is in a person's life, we expect a person to have a heavenly view of things, in the sense that achievement is very important, and as Christians we need to achieve, but that is really not the ultimate. The ultimate is giving our best and being honest and doing the things that God expects us to do. And the fact that God, Jesus, is the Prince of Peace, the fact that he has admonished us that there is peace that is beyond understanding. How does a person, whether it's a type A or type B, how does the Christian values, or how do Christian values impinge upon their proneness to becoming stressed?
Hi, I'm Sarah. Hit that subscribe button.
Hi, I'm Bryson. Hey,